We sat up all night and we noticed a lot of roof damage, peeled off roofs completely.
Then you start going, looking around campus, and it just was like a war zone.
I think, just thank God we're alive.
Heartbreaking, devastating, and just unbelievable.
And the closer we got, it was just like somebody dropped a bomb in the middle of the city. Oh my God.
On part 2 of Through the Storms, a city awakes to a completely different town as Laura wipes out Lake Charles. Hear the stories on Through the Storms.
You said you thought there would be devastation, but were you surprised by the amount of devastation and throughout the town?
Yeah, well, you know, we hadn't gotten to the town yet, but just looking at our campus, there was not a road that wasn't blocked or with debris or fallen trees. The interior was just devastated. And like I said, you'd look up and you'd see parts of buildings missing. Brick walls were down. We had some trees that fell into buildings. You kind of knew that if it was like this on campus, you had an idea of what it was going to be like. So one of the benefits too of being here was that I can go check on my own home pretty quickly. And that took about 30 minutes. A normal 5-minute drive took about 35, 40 minutes to weave your way through just to try to get there. And so you're able to see the devastation on all of the major arteries throughout the city were just blocked with a lot of downed trees. And I couldn't get over though seeing some of the destruction that took place on Ryan Street.
So you're comforting your wife.
Comfort my wife.
You're saying all the right things.
Yes.
But somewhere inside.
Inside me, I was just, it's over. We're not going to go on. This is going to be the end, and now it's all my fault. And now I'm casting blame on myself. But still, you know, giving her comfort, making sure she feels somewhat at ease.
Was it comforting yourself though?
No, it wasn't. I tried not to show it that, because that would have just, showing what I felt inside at that given time to my wife, it would have been horrible.
Got back to Lake Charles pretty early in the morning, opened the doors, and found 4 to 5 inches of water throughout the entire store. And you've seen the store. It's a lot of square footage. And so we immediately started to pump out the water.
I headed home about 6:30 the next morning. The wind was still blowing about 50 miles an hour, I guess at that time, tropical storm.
Yeah.
Headed home, drove the 50 miles, got to Ioway, went through Ioway as far as I could get. I couldn't get all the way through the town. Stopped at Highway 90 and looked both directions in Ioway, and every utility pole was across the road going both ways. In fact, I have a picture of it on my phone. It was unbelievable to see. Headed back into Lake Charles and went to all the houses of my relatives, son, daughter, mother, as close as I could get to their houses, and checked all that out. And everybody had damage. And by that afternoon, we were starting to think about schools that very next day.
Okay. So you start to take, a tour of the schools as best you can and just start to look at what's left and what's not left, and tell us about that.
So the first day that afternoon went to a couple of schools, mostly surveyed from the outside. I didn't have keys to all the schools. We noticed a lot of roof damage, peeled off roofs completely at a lot of places. And so we knew there was going to be water damage inside. So we geared up for that, but mostly what we started doing was the logistical effort to say, okay, who's going to remediate this? Who's going to come in and clean it up and get the water out? And so that was our focus over the whole weekend after the storm hit.
So about 7 o'clock in the morning, it's still windy, but not, not dangerous winds at that point. Everybody's going to go scatter and get their houses checked. And so that's what I did. I live in Sulphur. I drove home over the bridge. Bridge was fine, but there was a lot of debris on the interstate, and you could only go about 20, maybe 30 miles an hour because you were weaving through downed utility poles and wires, and you don't know really what they're from. And I got to my neighborhood, and I couldn't get to my house because there were trees down across the road and there were power poles down across the road. So I went around to a different route and tried to get in that way, and I couldn't get in that way either. So eventually I had to park my vehicle I walk about a half mile to get home. I got home and I checked my house out, and we were okay. I mean, it was obviously a mess. I found my cat. She was fine. She was mad. Oh man, she was hissing. She was furious at me. But she got her medicine, and I gave her a new nickname, which is now Cat 4. So took care of everything at the house, and called my wife, told her, tearfully that everything's good, we're okay, all things are well. But then went and checked out a few neighbors' houses and reported to them and that kind of stuff. And then by about noon, we were to come back. I got a call from a reporter from a Houston TV station, and they asked, "Hey, we got a report that one of the chemical plants is on fire." Well, I'd just driven down Interstate 10. I didn't think anything about it. A lot of times those the plants will have a flare going or something like that. And I said, well, I don't know anything about that. I think I would have heard about it if that were going on. It's probably just a flare. Well, I was heading back into the office from Sulphur, and I see that the biolab facility is up in smoke. And the Houston TV station actually had a reporter there on the side of the interstate, video with a camera showing that. So yeah, they were right. There was a plant that was on fire, and I could smell that it was chemically based, and smelled like chlorine to me. So I knew that was going to be a problem as I held my breath and drove fast as I could over the bridge to get back to the office. By the time I got back to the office, well, obviously they'd gotten the reports there then, and they were taking the steps to do the shelter in place for the residents that may have been there. Thankfully, there weren't a lot of people in Westlake where that shelter in place was occurring. Last thing you want to do on a day like that is to shut the windows and all the circulation when there's no power and no air conditioning, and it was 90 plus degrees. But that was another indication that how serious this was, and that thing burned all day and smoldered on for the next couple of days.
The next day the hurricane comes through. I wake up, I get a picture. Somebody texts me a picture, and it's the front of the TV station. The buildings collapsed over there, and the tower behind us didn't fall across 210. It fell on the old Fox building, which is now an insurance company, and took out the end of the restaurant over there. I looked at that, and the front of the building was open. The top part was wide open, the front of it, and the bricks laying there. And I'm thinking, that's where I was going to park my truck. I'm thinking, if that tower fell, what kind of devastation do we have there for it to knock that tower over?
And this is all from a photograph?
Photograph. And I walked out. Outside, and I cried.
When you depend on the weather for your livelihood, one bad season can knock you off your feet. At Sunshine Quality Solutions, we understand that living in Louisiana can mean unprecedented natural disasters. And this hurricane season is no different. Whether you own a John Deere 9X, a 1023E, or even something really small, hurricanes affect us all the same. In these trying times, we hope you stay safe and know that you're not alone.
I couldn't thank the Brazier Law Firm enough for what they've done for me and my family. It took all the stress of dealing with this off of my shoulders.
I'm living in a travel trailer in my driveway, and I'm thinking if it wasn't for the Brazier Law Firm, this might be my house for the rest of my life.
They will work for you, they will fight for you, and they really take pride in their work and what they do and making sure that their client is the number one priority.
Do you have a brick home? Did you know that major storms can shift brick and cause unseen structural damage to your home? The easiest way to find out if this has happened to your home is to simply push on your brick and see if it moves. And if it does, call us immediately. Time is running out to file your brick claim on your home. Visit www.brickclaims.com or call us at 337-496-5131 today.
At Kenny Fuselier and Company, we sell the tough stuff: hardwoods, tile, vinyl, carpet, and stone. Floors that can withstand years of kids, pets, accidents, spills. And we're much more than just durable flooring. We can complete your look with wallpaper, custom window blinds, shutters, and awnings. With thousands of choices, professional installers, and over 35 years of experience, at Kenny Fusilier, you can walk, tap, and even rollerblade on our reputation.
Eco Roof and Solar is Louisiana's trusted roofing leader, specializing in storm restoration for commercial and residential projects, working closely with your insurance company to negotiate and fully restore your home or business. With an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, Eco Roof and Solar is Louisiana strong. Call 337-221-4113 to schedule your complimentary inspection. That's 337-221-4113, or visit us at ecoroofinsolar.com.
First place I went to, we came through, when we left Houston to come over here the first time, as we come through Beaumont, I'm going, this isn't too bad. I see some billboards down, some damage on tin. Don't see that much, but as soon as we cross into Louisiana, you go, oh my God, look at this. And the closer we got, it was just like somebody dropped a bomb in the middle of the city and everything fell. And you could see where tornadoes hit, because the Orange Theory on Nelson, the whole building was sucked out. The auto play store next to, gone. I drove over TV station to check everything out here. It was a mess here. The parking lot, the building next door. And I went over and checked out some of my clients, my friends and clients at TV stations, places, and they were gone. I went to New Look Furniture. It was just devastated. I went to CNC Appliance, drove down West McNeese, and it was just gone.
We should have left, but we didn't. I mean, afterwards, we come outside when the daytime, it was unbelievable. Ain't nothing look the same no more. You can find dead horses in the field. All the fence torn down, horses and other people passing. We get up in the morning and go trying to secure the animals again. Some of them had to, they put the self down because a big board went through them. You know what I'm saying?
A board landed on one horse and it was completely through his back and killed it instantly.
Yeah. So that's amazing. We had to pull that off from him. Go take care of the horse and bear that.
Brought the horse to the back of the pasture.
Yeah.
And we, with the tractor, and we seen other boards sticking up out of the ground.
Oh yeah.
With the tractor, we tied a chain on the one board, 2x4. It was 4 foot in the ground.
And we just pull it straight up.
With the tractor, he couldn't pull it by hand. Me and him couldn't pull it by hand. That's
So, you
the
know,
force of the wind.
He said, woo, that way down there.
You said at one point you saw a Shetland pony go
No,
by.
that was a joke.
Okay. I wasn't
Sir,
sure.
when the wind's blowing that hard, things that pass so quick.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It's amazing. I mean, it's
So of the 10 horses or so that you started with, you lost at least one. How many did you lose?
Just one.
Just the one?
Just one. Praise God. That's all it was.
Yes.
It was one of the longest nights in my life, honestly, was just watching the Weather Channel and then seeing all the things that you recognize, you know, through the city, and just seeing the wind and the damage, and like I said, just having the Weather Channel there was just sad. I mean, just seeing the destruction of your home, of your hometown, it was something I'll never forget.
So, storm, next morning, you on the phone with your athletes? So what's the process? You wake up, the storm's gone. What does coach do?
Well, we got in a car, and my son and I, we drove back, and and obviously I'm on the phone the whole time, but then now phone services wasn't the greatest, if you will, just for obvious reasons. But we drive in, and I'm talking to my president, obviously about the university, and he was telling me just the destruction that the university took, and just it was just so surreal, just listening on the phone. But for me, you still couldn't. I couldn't process it because I couldn't see it. And then as you get past, Lafayette, you start seeing the road signs and things starting to, collect along the road. And then when you just pull into and approach Lake Charles and the community, and you can just see the destruction, it was surreal. And you know, the first place I went was our new arena. I didn't go to my house first. I went to the new arena. That was beyond emotional for me, because you go in and we have a $40 million building. It's brand new. We had so much momentum within the program. We were selling out the arena, and you walk in and there's water above my ankle all the way through the arena. I'm standing at mid-court and I look up and there's a hole in the ceiling, and water's coming in. I'm just emotional. And then you leave there, and it took some time for me to kind of just truly grasp the severity of everything. And then you start looking around campus, and it just was, it looked like a war zone.
Eco Roof and Solar is Louisiana's trusted roofing leader, specializing in storm restoration for commercial and residential projects, working closely with your insurance company to negotiate and fully restore your home or business. With an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, Eco Roof and Solar is Louisiana strong. Call 337-221-4113 to schedule your complimentary inspection. That's 337-221-4113, or visit us at ecoroofinsolar.com.
At Kenny Fuselier and Company, we sell the tough stuff: hardwoods, tile, vinyl, carpet, and stone. Floors that can withstand years of kids, pets, accidents, spills. And we're much more than just durable flooring. We can complete your look with wallpaper, custom window blinds, shutters, and awnings. With thousands of choices, professional installers, and over 35 years of experience, at Kenny Fuselier, you can walk, tap, and even rollerblade on our reputation.
Do you have a brick home? Did you know that major storms can shift brick and cause unseen structural damage to your home? The easiest way to find out if this has happened to your home is to simply push on your brick and see if it moves. And if it does, call us immediately. Time is running out to file your brick claim on your home. Visit www.brickclaims.com or call us at 337-496-5131 today.
I couldn't thank the Brazier Law Firm enough for what they've done for me and my family. It took all the stress of dealing with this off of my shoulders.
I'm living in a travel trailer in my driveway, and I'm thinking if it wasn't for the Brazier Law Firm, this might be my house for the rest of my life.
They will work for you, they will fight for you, and they really take pride in their work and what they do and making sure that their client is the number one priority.
When you depend on the weather for your livelihood, one bad season can knock you off your feet. At Sunshine Quality Solutions, we understand that living in Louisiana can mean unprecedented natural disasters. And this hurricane season is no different. Whether you own a John Deere 9X, a 1023E, or even something really small, hurricanes affect us all the same. In these trying times, we hope you stay safe and know that you're not alone.
And I think it kind of got about the worst around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And we could hear, at that point, we couldn't see anything else because it was just black everywhere. But we could hear that the building had taken some significant damage, because we could hear the wind going over our heads in the drop ceiling. Like the drop ceiling tiles were shaking and the wind was going straight over our heads from, can't remember which direction it was going, but so we could tell that there was definitely some significant damage to the building because somehow the wind was getting in. But there was, on the outsides of the building, there was enough rain and enough damage to the building that water was coming down the outsides of the walls and pooling a little bit from the rain. There was no rising water here. There was no storm surge in this area. This is a very high elevated area. But the main thing was, there was rain, but the main thing was the wind. It was, we didn't have a wind gauge or a wind sock or anything like that, so we have no idea what the actual wind speed was. But there were cars that were slid across and moved into each other, and there was the whole north side of the building and the south side of the building basically were ripped off. We had, for 9 months after the storm, we had a plywood wall on the north side, And our service drive, the canopy that covers where you drive under to go get service done, had completely collapsed, probably just from the pressure change or whatever. That whole section of the building had just collapsed and was laying in the ground. So there was severe damage to the north side of the building, severe damage to the south side of the building, but inside the building, exactly like we had predicted and hoped, you couldn't even really tell that anything had happened. Our kids slept through it, and it was just kind of it was like good sleeping weather here in the middle of the building. You could hear a murmur of the wind, and you could hear the rain pattering, but it was really in the core, the concrete and iron part of the building, it was really good sleeping weather. So the building took good care of us. It was very safe in here in the middle, but it did take a lot of damage on the outside, and there was enough of the wall torn away on the north side of the building where there was somehow the drywall survived on the inside, but the outside stucco and ephes was all blown away, and some of the metal studs were even bent and twisted from the wind, and somehow there was just a sheet of drywall. That's all that was left.
So the wind moved vehicles, slid them sideways, took off bent metal studs, and the gypsum stayed.
I guess it was just the last line of defense, and by the time the weather got into the drywall, maybe it was on its way out, because it was we didn't really we didn't shine flashlights into there until probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So it was, I guess maybe it was on its way out, and just the last line of the last little bit of gypsum board held up.
You came back into Lake Charles when, and what was your impression when you saw it?
Well, as you said, I've been in this business for a long time. Most of us have been. We kind of had a pretty good idea of what to expect just from previous hurricanes. Unfortunately, recent history has not been very kind with very strong hurricanes making landfall, not necessarily locally, but nationwide. So we kind of knew what to expect, but even with that already kind of in the back of our minds, you come back in, you get your first look at it for the first time, especially your own properties, and just the devastation was it almost made me cry. It makes a lot of people very emotional, because everything you've worked for years and decades, the town that you've built a home around and in is now just completely devastated and completely different. And that hit a lot of us within the weather community hard. We knew exactly what was going to happen, but it still doesn't prepare you for what you actually see when you come back and see the devastation that was wrought across the area.
In your business, you live for these storms. I mean, these storms are kind of what give you purpose, but yet it's your home. So how do you kind of balance that? It's it's kind of the meteorologist version. You're going to the Oscars, but we're going to be tearing down the theater at the same time.
Right, and we kind of look at it that way. It is our quote-unquote Super Bowl per se, but at the same time, you're talking about a natural disaster that's going to have potentially devastating consequences. So from a scientific perspective, it's interesting, it's engaging, it's fascinating, because that's why we all got into weather. From a practical standpoint, from a human standpoint, it's a whole different emotional experience, and it is very difficult to kind of reconcile those two. We kind of operate under the assumption that we forecast it. We don't control it. It's not something we can change. It's going to happen regardless of what we want or don't want it to do. So for us, it's basically getting the best. We can kind of combine that by saying, okay, we use what we know, our fascination, our passion for this weather, to save lives and to reduce property loss as much as we can. That's our entire mission at the Weather Service, and that's how we reconcile those two. It's a very passionate field, it's a very engaging science, but at the same time, our job at the end of the day is to save lives by using what we know from that science to apply that to get people to take action. In this case, it worked out very well because most people did evacuate and we had very little loss of life with Laura.
I don't think that there was really, there's any way to describe it. We were, driving down 210 in my brother's truck, because he's the one with that gigantic truck. So we went, that's what we took. Tried to get to as many restaurants as we could. We came down 210, saw the tower over here. It was just devastating. That was the only word I can think of that describes it. It was, heartbreaking, devastating, and just unbelievable, the amount of damage that was around. And, at the same time, it was just the next morning. And I saw all kinds of individuals, private people already clearing the streets with their own chainsaws and, making paths through the sidewalks, wherever you could get around so people could get to their houses and get out if they needed to still get out and all that kind of stuff. So
How many restaurants does your family own and operate?
So altogether with my father, Ajay, my two brothers, and I, we have 25 restaurants in Louisiana.
In Louisiana. And how many in the parishes, the greater Lake Charles
So
area?
in Lake Charles, we have 10 in Calcasieu Parish.
Okay. So of those 10, how many, were there any that had no damage?
Actually, out of the 25, all 25 had damage.
Yeah.
And every single one either got, at the very least, the road sign completely blown away or damaged. And then just various bits of different damage to all the restaurants.
We opened the door for the first time, and before we did, there's just leaves and just stuff that came out of a crack this big underneath our door. So we open it, and just as a shock, I remember the devastation that was out there. I mean, you couldn't even really walk past on the road. You couldn't see a road.
Was it daylight at this point?
It was daylight at this point. And just thinking that it was very hard to see that. And sorry. But it was hard.
So you see that?
See it.
And you think?
I
what?
think, just thank God we're alive.
Tell me how the day unfolds. Traffic fast, or traffic slow. The feeling is so fine, I gotta say. You're everywhere, got you everywhere. Everywhere I roam. You're everywhere, got you everywhere. Everywhere I go. Go. Everywhere I go.
GT 500.
Yeah, Shelby. It's not a Mustang, it's a Shelby. Yeah.
Shelby Cobra?
Yeah, he not only did he park it in the shop, but he put it up on a lift so that if we get water, we can get. Let's go see how many feet of water we can get. Lori, go stand under there. And you're what, 5'7"? 5'7". So we could get
About 6 feet.
We could get about 6 feet of water, and my wife will drown, but Mike Baker's Shelby will be fine.
On part 3, a city comes together to start the rebuilding process through the storms.
Our infrastructure was designed for one of these events in a generation, in a lifetime.
Nobody, I think, was prepared for how bad it was going to be.
Just trees were everywhere. Power lines were down. Pretty incredible.
And then the interesting thing is, some of the houses look like a bomb went off, like everything just imploded in different directions.
And then it just was overwhelming, nonstop devastation everywhere.